Yo, what up? Okay, so today we're going to talk about what happened before Genesis. See, the Bible starts with the book of Genesis. In the book of Genesis, we find Lucifer in his fallen state already. He's already Satan, and he's already in his serpent state. So when God created Lucifer, he didn't create Satan. Lucifer became Satan. So a lot happened, a lot took place before the book of Genesis. And God has left little breadcrumbs across the Bible that give us a little insight to what actually happened before the creation. Okay? So first off, we're going to start off with the creation of Lucifer and who God created him and what he looked like and what his duties were in heaven before he fell. So we're going to read out of Ezekiel 28:12-13. You were the signet of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect and exquisite beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Your clothing was adorned with every precious stone, red carnelian, pale green peridot, white moonstone, blue green beryl, onyx, green jasper, blue lapis lazuli, turquoise, and emerald, all beautifully crafted for you and set in the finest gold. They were given to you on the day that you were created. Number one, right there, we need to understand that no matter how powerful Lucifer was, he was created. And the creator is always greater than the creation. God, when he created Lucifer, he created him with and adorned him in every single precious stone known to man. His clothing was made of gold. He was bestowed with a bunch of riches and wealth. Okay, so now reading out of Ezekiel 28:14-6. I ordained you and I anointed you as a mighty covering cherub guardian. You had access to the holy mountain of God and walked among the stones of fire. You were blameless in all you did from the day that you were created until the day that evil was found in you. Your rich merchandise led you to violence and you sinned. So I banished you in disgrace from the mountain of God. I expelled you, O mighty cherub guardian, from your place among the stones of fire. Okay, so number one right here, God explains to us what kind of angel Lucifer was. He was a cherubim. And not only was he a cherubim, he was a mighty cherubim angel that covers, which means that he was one of the angels that covered the Ark of the Covenant. That is the highest honor that God can bestow about anything, about any creation, about any angel. Okay, it says that he had access to the holy mountain of God. Access. You see, one of God's name is El Elyon, the Most High. What it means is that his throne is situated at the highest point of the universe, which means that God's throne is above heaven, and he had access to God's throne. Not every angel has direct access to God's throne, which means that millions of angels, of lower class angels, would look up from heaven and look up to God's throne. And who would they see there? They would see Lucifer patrolling back and forth in the presence of God because he was a guardian of God's righteousness. He was basically like God's personal bodyguard, and he was walking in the presence of God day and night in the closest proximity to God, which means that God had bestowed the most honor, the most wealth, the most privilege onto Lucifer. Okay, so now we're going to read, now that we know what kind of angel Lucifer was, we're going to now read what he looked like. Reading out of Ezekiel 1:5-6. From the center of the cloud came 4 living beings that looked human, except that each had 4 faces and 4 wings. Each had a human face in the front, the face of a lion on the right side, the face of an ox on the left side, and the face of an eagle on the back. Okay, so right here we have an illustration of what the cherubim angels would look like. So first, we're gonna start off with the 4 faces and the 4 wings. So again, reading out of Ezekiel 1:5-6. From the center of the cloud came 4 living beings that looked human, except each had 4 faces and 4 wings. So we see here that he had 4 faces. It says that in the front, he had the face of a man, which represents Jesus Christ as a man. It says that he also had a face of a lion, The face of a lion represents Jesus Christ because Jesus Christ is the lion of the tribe of Judah. And then he also says that he had a face of an ox. So an ox in the book of Leviticus is the highest form of sacrifice. It is the animal that is the strongest to labor, and it is the highest form of sacrifice, representing Jesus Christ, that he came to serve, he came to work, and he came to die, and he came to die for us. And in the back, it says that he had the face of an eagle. Now, an eagle is the animal that can fly at the highest altitude. There is no other animal that can fly higher than an eagle. And that represents Jesus as El Elyon, as the Most High, because he's seated at the right hand of the Father. Now, it also says that he has 4 wings. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 wings. The 4 wings represent the 4 corners of the world, the way that there are 4 Gospels of Jesus Christ. We have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And the Gospels of Jesus Christ ultimately are about the death of Jesus and the salvation that we have through his death. So the way that there are 4 corners to the cross, there are also 4 corners to a compass. We have north, we have south, we have east, and we have west, saying that the salvation of humanity through the sacrifice of Jesus Christ is for every earth dweller, from north to south, from east to west. Going back to Ezekiel 1 through 7, it says their legs were straight and their feet had hooves like those of a calf. So right here, we can see that the cherubim angels have hooved legs. And I thought that was very interesting, because if we look at a depiction of what Lucifer looks like now, this is what he depicts himself to look like now. He still has those hooved legs, which matches the description of the cherubim angels. Now, let's go back to... Now, it says out of Ezekiel 10 through 12, it says the cherubim entire bodies, including their backs, their hands, and their wings, were completely full of eyes, as they were the 4 wheels. So right here we see eye. We see eyes all over them. And what this signifies, what this represents, is God's omnipresence and his ability to be everywhere, to see everything simultaneously. Okay, so this is originally what God created Lucifer to look like. This is what he was before he fell. So now, coming back to the word, now when we read in Job, this is God speaking to Job. Okay, so when Job was being tested by Lucifer, at first he didn't question God at all, but towards the end he started questioning God. And so when the time of testing was over and God finally came and spoke to Job, this is what God told Job. Reading out of Job 38, 4 through 7. Where were you when I laid out the earth's foundations? Tell me if you understand who marked off its dimensions. Surely you know who stretched a measuring line across it. On what were its footings set, or who laid its cornerstone? While the morning stars sang together, and all the angels shouted for joy. You see, right here, God is painting us a picture of creation. Asking Job, where were you? If you know so much, tell me, where were you when I was creating the entire universe? While the angels were worshiping, while he was creating. Do you understand? Can you understand this picture that he's trying to paint for us? While he was creating everything, he was being worshipped by the angels. Now, look what it says right here. It says, while the morning's stars sang together. The morning stars is plural. Now, there are only 2 entities in the Bible that are called morning star. One is Lucifer, and the other is Jesus. Reading out of Revelation 22:16, this is Jesus speaking. I, Jesus, have sent my angel to give you this testimony for the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright morning star. Now, reading out of Isaiah 14:12, this is Isaiah speaking about Satan. How have you fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn? You have been cast down to the earth, you once who laid low the nations. So right here, we see that Jesus and Lucifer are the only entities in the Bible that were called morning stars. A morning star is a light bringer. A morning star is the first star that you can see after a dark night. So you see, when God created Lucifer, his original intention for creation was to be pure light, was to be a light bringer to the earth. So now we're going to take a look at the Hebrew out of Job. In the original text, it says, while the morning stars sing together. In the Hebrew, morning means dawn or morning by this word right here, boker. Stars, kokbi, means a star or a prince. Hebrew is written from right to left or written from right to left. In the original Hebrew, what it really says is a prince of the morning or the prince of the stars. Another word for God's angels are stars. Lucifer was literally the prince of all angels. That's how much glory and power God had bestowed upon Lucifer. Now let's take a look at Lucifer and when he fell. Reading out of Ezekiel 28:17. Your heart was filled with pride because of all your beauty. Your wisdom was corrupted by your love of splendor, so I threw you to the earth. Reading out of Isaiah 14:13 through 15. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. There we go again, stars. He goes, I will raise my throne above God's angels. I will sit enthroned on the mount of assembly on the utmost heights of Mount Zaphon. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. Instead, you will be brought down to the place of the dead, to the lowest of its depths. You see, right here, we have God, because God can see everything and he knows everything. When God created Lucifer, we read in Ezekiel 28 through 12, it says that he was perfect in everything that he did. He was perfect in all of his ways. There was no iniquity found in him. There was a time where Satan, who was Lucifer, who was a good angel, he was an angel who loved God and served God. And everything in him was perfect. Everything in him was light. But he fell in love with himself. He looked at his power. He looked at his glory. He looked at his wealth. He looked at his wisdom and his beauty. Because it says in Ezekiel that he had 4 wings, and when he would flap his wings, it made the sound of thunder. He saw how powerful he was. He saw how he was above every other angel. He saw how he patrolled in the presence of God, and every angel looked up at him. And he fell in love with himself. And when he fell in love with himself, God no longer was his God, and he became his own God. And that is why vanity and pride is a sin, because that is what led Lucifer to rebel against God. Now I want you to imagine, because it says that all of God's angels are his sons. In the Bible, they're described as the sons of God. Because it says in Genesis that the sons of God found the daughters of men very beautiful, and they picked out wives for themselves, and they had intercourse with them, and their children were Nephilim. So the sons of God are angels. So Lucifer was a son of God. So imagine what it is to God to have created this angel, this magnificent angel, and bestowed so much honor and so much glory, and gave so much to him, gave so much responsibility to him, and gave him so much privilege. For then that angel, that son of yours, to grow up and rebel against you, to fight you, to try to overthrow you. And we read here in Isaiah what he said. He goes, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the mount of assembly. On the utmost heights of Mount Zaphon, I will ascend to the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. You see, when you become your own God, then you by default want to take the place of God. And in that moment, he decided that he was going to be like God, and he let his power get to his head, the power that God gave him. But he seemed to forget the fact that God is almighty, that God created him, that God gave him life. And the creator is always going to be above the creation. Now we read right here in Luke 10:18. This is Jesus speaking. Yes, he told him, I saw Satan fall from heaven like lightning. I beheld Satan falling from heaven like lightning. You see, when Lucifer said that he would rise to the highest heights, which is El Elyon, the Most High, God said, oh no, I will descend you to the lowest depths. And the lowest depths is hell, or Gehenna, the lake of fire. He's still not there yet, but that's where he's going. That's on his way. That's going to be his ultimate final destination. And when he fell to earth, he felt mad. He felt angry, because he wanted to be like God. He never wanted to be who he is now. He didn't want to be this dark, ugly, evil thing, Because what he looked at God's glory. And what he wanted God's glory. He wanted to sit above God's throne. He didn't want to become what he became. Because when God created him, he created him with beauty, with wisdom, with all these beautiful attributes. And when he fell, he became the complete opposite of that, which is Satan. So he was an angel of light. Now he's an angel of darkness. He went to the complete opposite side of the spectrum. And he was deformed. The beauty that God created him with is no longer the beauty that he has. He's no longer the same creation that he was. You see, and when he fell to earth, he felt angry. Because he wanted to take over heaven, but he couldn't. There's no way. His power comes nowhere near to the power of God. So when he fell to earth, he felt angry. And he said, if I can't go after God, if I can't hurt him, I'm going to go after his precious humans. I'm going to go after his precious creation. When God created Adam and Eve, Lucifer was there watching everything. He was there seeing God create everything. And when he fell to earth, guess who he found there? Adam and Eve, like babies, innocent. They knew no sin. They knew nothing wrong. They were just walking around in this garden, just looking at everything, just like literally like 2-3-year-olds. And then Satan came with his full wisdom, with his full knowledge of everything that happened and tempted them. You see, everything about Lucifer, literally everything from his physical appearance, the 4 faces, the 4 wings, the eyes, his name, literally everything about him was made to glorify Jesus. That's why he was so mighty and powerful. That's why he was so perfect in beauty and in wisdom, because he reflected all the characteristics of Jesus' glory. The purpose of his existence was to showcase Jesus' splendor and to bring worship to Jesus and everything that he was. That's why both of their names were Morning Star. It's not that he was at the same level of Jesus. It's just that he was created to bring worship to Jesus. He was created to be a monument of Jesus. He was created to reflect all of the characteristics of Jesus. You see, even here on earth, when we look at rulers of either kings in the past, of mighty dynasties or mighty kingdoms, what do? What did Caesar do? He would build giant statues of himself to honor himself. When God created Lucifer, he created Lucifer like a statue to bring glory to Jesus. Everything from his 4 faces represents Jesus. The 4 wings represent Jesus. The eyes represent Jesus. His name reflects Jesus. Lucifer's entire creation was meant to bring worship to Jesus. Some people say, I've heard people say before that Lucifer's job was to lead worship in heaven. It was much more than that. His entire existence was worship to Jesus. And that's why he was so mighty and so powerful and so beautiful and so wise above any other angel. No other angel came near to him. Why? Because his job was to reflect every characteristic of Jesus. And so now we've covered what happened before the book of Genesis and how Lucifer, where he started and where he ended. On our next show, I'm going to be talking about what God the Father looks like. It's very well concealed in the Bible. I used to imagine God the Father like this giant white fluorescent light, but I was completely wrong. And so next time we're going to be talking about what God the Father looks like. Until next time.